Hello and thanks for joining us once again. Today we have with us Reverend Father Albin Kissi, and he's going to teach us what the Holy Rosary is and the history as well as the origins of the Holy Rosary. So Father Albin, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
So let's get straight into the conversation. First of all, what is the Holy Rosary? When we hear someone talk about the Holy Rosary, what exactly are they referring to?
The Holy Rosary is a Marian devotion. It is a meditative prayer that seeks the intercession of the Blessed Virgin Mary. The Rosary prayer is very Christocentric in that it reflects on the mysteries of our salvation. It reflects on our incarnation. So it is a Marian prayer that is also meditative and reflective.
Okay. So when you say the Rosary is a meditative prayer, what exactly are we meditating on?
We are meditating on the mysteries of our salvation. We are meditating on the mysteries of Christ. So when we talk about the Rosary, we are not making reference to Marian worship, but whatever we talk about Mary, we are also making reference to Jesus. So we are meditating on the mysteries of our salvation and the incarnation.
Okay, so let's take a look at the origins of the Holy Rosary. What is the history behind the Rosary as we have it today?
Yes, the history of the Rosary is mysterious as the Rosary itself, because the Rosary is a popular devotion, and for that matter you cannot talk about its history in a particular point in time. You cannot say it came out once. The history didn't come out once. It came out in a process. So in order to talk about the history, I would like to departmentalize it into 4 segments. First of all, I will talk about the praying of beads, using beads to pray. The second one, I will talk about the contribution of Saint Dominic to the Holy Rosary, and then I also talk about the Marian apparition, and I also throw some light on the teachings of the Church regarding the Holy Rosary.
Okay. In other words, what you are telling us is that the Holy Rosary has evolved over time. So the Rosary as we have it today wasn't as we have it today some time ago. It has evolved throughout the centuries.
Yes.
Okay, so begin the history. As you said, the praying of the beads.
The praying of beads. Using beads to pray is not peculiar to Catholics. Hindus pray using beads. Muslims pray using beads. Buddhists even pray using beads. So you realize that the history of the Rosary had its origin in the Eastern monks. The monks were praying the 150 Psalms every day. That is what we call the Psalter. So they were praying the 150 Psalms every day. As time went on, some of the monks were illiterates, but they still wanted to pray. So what they did was that they began using the Jesus' prayer, that is our Father, which will be taken from Matthew chapter 6 verses 2 to 13. So whilst the monks who were literate were praying the 150 Psalms, their illiterate brothers, so to speak, were also praying the Jesus' prayer, and they were praying it 150 times. In order to keep the records or to keep track, they were using pebbles and stones in order to count, to check that they have reached that number. That is why it came using beads to pray. Now, as time went on, they also developed what we call the Marian prayer. They used the words of the angel Gabriel to Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with her. And then they also used the words of Elizabeth to Mary. That is in Luke chapter 1 verse 46. Blessed are you among women, and blessed is the fruit of your womb, Jesus. So they combined these words to form the Marian Psalter. So as others were praying the Jesus prayer, others too were also using the Marian Psalter. As time went on, I said that it is a popular devotion, like the Stations of the Cross. It's a popular devotion. So while some of them were using the Marian Psalter. Others too were praying the Jesus's prayer, and they began bridging the two.
From what you said, you are trying to tell us that the development of beats came about as a result of people not wanting to lose track when they were praying the Psalter, yes, or the Psalms, as you said.
Rightly.
Okay, so what about Saint Dominic? You mentioned him earlier. What was his contribution to the development of the Holy Rosary prayer?
Yeah, the common view is that Mary gave the Rosary to Saint Dominic, and others even believe that that is the origin of the Rosary. But then, if you read the story of Saint Dominic himself, what historians have put across, it is reported that Saint Dominic had a vision of the Blessed Virgin Mary, instructing her to pray her Psalter. This logically implies that the Psalter was already in existence, but it was not a formidable prayer. It was just the common popular devotion. So Saint Dominic was a powerful preacher, and at his time there was this heresy of Albinianism, where they talk about the dualism, that is matter and spirit. According to them, matter is evil, spirit is good. So anything that concerns the human body is not good, and for that matter you can even commit suicide. At the surface level, you will not see the impact of this false teaching. It goes against the incarnation, that is God taking on human form. So Saint Dominic set out to preach against this particular false teaching, and then in the course of prayer, Mary revealed herself to her that he should use the Marian Psalter, and that is why Saint Dominic and then the whole congregation of the Dominicans are noted for their serious devotion to the Rosary.
Okay, now how about the church's teachings on the Holy Rosary?
Yes, so when the Dominicans took on the Rosary, as it were, the church had to come in to set rules and then streamline issues. So Pope Paul VI came out with a document, Marialis Cultus, listing the three mysteries: the joyful mystery, the sorrowful mystery, and then the glorious mystery, and then talking about the devotion to Mary. Pope John Paul also in 2002 came out with the luminous mystery. So now we have 4 of the mysteries, but previously we were having 3.
Okay, so we've taken a look at the history and origins of the Holy Rosary, but earlier you also mentioned that you touched on some Marian apparitions.
Yes, Marian apparitions have also contributed greatly to the historical development of the Holy Rosary. For example, in Portugal, the Fatima apparition, where the Blessed Virgin Mary revealed herself to the 3 children, Lucia, Jacinta, and Francisco, and then through that devotion, the praying of the Holy Rosary gained popularity, and people came to accept it because the power behind the praying of the Rosary influenced the whole of Portugal and the little village of Fatima.
Okay, so as we mentioned earlier, there is going to be a series of teachings we'll be having on the Holy Rosary in this month of October. But before we bring today's episode to an end, what are your final words to us, especially as we are beginning the month of October, where we are going to pray the Rosary together as a church community? What are some of your final words to us?
What I would say is that the Rosary is still a powerful tool. The church has used the Rosary in diverse ways to conquer evil, to fight against false teaching, to bring breakthroughs. In our time and age, the Rosary is still powerful and relevant. Even if you do not believe, Jesus will say that believe in the miracles I perform. If you look at the tremendous miracles through the praying of the Rosary people have experienced, I will seriously recommend that in this month of October, every Catholic, even if you're not a Catholic, make it a point to make a covenant with God through the praying of the Holy Rosary. And I have no doubt in mind that at the end of the month, the Lord himself will answer your prayers.
Okay, thank you very much, Father Albin, for joining us today. You've taken us through the history and the development of the Holy Rosary. We are very grateful for joining us. Okay, so today we had Father Albin with us. We've had a conversation with him on the Holy Rosary. He has taught us the history as well as the development of the Holy Rosary. He mentioned the praying with beads. He also mentioned the contribution of Saint Dominic. He touched on some church teachings as well as some of the Marian apparitions. So join us again next time around on Sector Catholic TV. God bless you.